All right, good morning, YouTube. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 7 habits of a highly effective lifter. In my opinion, every single lifter should maintain a routine in and out of the gym to maximize gym progress. Success is a habit. Excellence is a habit. So it's really important that we try to find all the ways that we can optimize our lives inside and outside the gym to make sure we're heading in the right direction. Now, with these habits, improving in any one of them will already provide you a host of different benefits. But the thing is, if you want to be the biggest version of yourself, the strongest version of yourself, the healthiest version of yourself, you need to address all of these. So, the 7 habits I'm going to be presenting you today are sleep, mobility, nutrition, training, activity, and hydration. And a trick that I learned from my kinesiology professor is that something to help you remember things is to make up a dirty acronym for it. And since I know it's popular nowadays for young men to hate women and fight their demons, I came up with Suck My Nuts, you treacherous, adulterous whore.
Carter, I believe whore is spelled with a W.
Right. W.
So think about that the next time you're deciding if you want to pay for college tuition. Every single thing in this list of habits improves or amplifies your ability to work harder, get better results, be healthier, and also neglecting any of these habits will severely limit you in your ability to get bigger and get stronger. So instead of telling you all the benefits, because there's just a shit ton more videos out there that will do that much better than I can, I'm going to tell you more practical ways to make sure these things are part of your life. So first, sleep. It's better than steroids, right? The biggest mistake people make when they're trying to set up a schedule is that they try to stick to one that doesn't really make sense to them. They saw an Instagram infographic where they have to be a part of that Sigma grind set, wake up at 4 a.m. with a cold shower and daily affirmations if they are going to be a productive alpha male who gets bitches. So here, your intention is getting 7 hours minimum of sleep, but I do think that if you are serious about your training and you are pushing yourself in the gym, 8 to 9 hours is going to be much better for you. So to accomplish this, I think a lot of people try to white knuckle themselves to sleep or rely too much on things like melatonin or other sleep aids. And I think that if you have all the other habits in place like nutrition and hydration, that can help as well. But for the most part, something that you can do that's directly related to sleep and sleep in particular is waking up at the same time every single day. Something I notice when I'm talking to people who do get a regular amount of sleep every single night is that they actually just wake up at the same time every single day. Now, I'm not a sleep expert, but my reasoning for that is that it just continues to cement that habit. So let's say, for example, I do want to sleep in a little bit more on a weekend. Something I will do is after I do my morning routine, I will go back to sleep if I still feel like I need more sleep. So my morning routine as of right now is waking up, coffee and a protein shake, and then walking my dog. That is my morning routine. If I, on a weekend, feel like I need more sleep after I walk my dog and tell him he's a good boy, I'm gonna go back right to bed. Over time, you're going to start noticing that you're getting tired when you're supposed to in order to get your 8-9 hours. And I think that's a lot easier because forcing yourself to go to sleep is not really something you want to do. And oftentimes when you find that that's the case, you just find yourself tossing and turning for hours on end and making things a bit more difficult for you. And you go into this cycle of having no sleep schedule to pulling all-nighters in the efforts to fix it. And the way that I've found to remedy this is quite simply waking up at the same time every single day. The next habit is going to be mobility, and this is something I have to make a confession for. I used to think that full range of motion strength training alone was all you needed for good mobility, and I was wrong. I even had a little bit of doublethink or cognitive dissonance going on because even when I was working with, like, let's say clients in person or online, if I found that their squat movement mechanics were, let's say, not up to par to where I want them to be before we can commit them to a more standardized or rigorous progression scheme, I would do regression exercises that would allow them to get into a full range of motion. But why couldn't I take that step further, like one step further back, and do another one where we isolate a specific area of concern in their movement patterns where their muscles and joints do need to have a little bit more targeted lengthening or mobility work. That will only help them be much more technically proficient. Technical proficiency will always limit you before your physical capacities will. So in sport, in training, if you don't have good technique, you can't express your best level of physicality. So you should try to do everything in your power to make sure that you are being a better lifter, and mobility can be a useful tool for that. If you can improve your movement mechanics through a minimal amount of mobility, it is within your best interest to do so. There's so many places to put a simple 5 to 10-minute mobility routine every single day that it just doesn't make sense to say you don't have any time. You can do it when you wake up, you can do it when you go to bed, you can do it while watching TV, you can do it before training or after training, or you can do it in between sets. There's quite simply no way anyone can say, I don't have the time to do it. There's a lot of places that we don't know where our time is going, and if we do kind of raise our awareness of where we are wasting our time, we can easily find those places where we can put in simple things like a mobility routine. Now, mobility routines don't have to be fully comprehensive, and you can find that maybe only certain areas of your body need an actual routine and others do get taken care of pretty well simply by your strength training, and that's okay. But to say that you never need it or it's completely irrelevant is incredibly disingenuous and is only going to hurt you in the long run by eliminating something that could be a potential aid or a potential solution for you. The next thing is nutrition. If you are not serious about nutrition, I think you're wrong. I think you are a coward. I think you are a half measure. And I'm talking to myself here just as much as I'm talking to anyone of you out there. For the longest time, I was not that serious about my nutrition other than, is there meat in my meal and am I eating this with a good amount of rice? If those two things were being met, I just thought I was eating okay, and I would not track things as much as I would want to, and as a result, I gained more weight than I needed to. So I do think it's within your best interest to have some type of system in place. And what this will look like for person to person is incredibly different for everyone. So being serious about your nutrition can show itself in many different ways. For some people, it's simply having meal plans or doing meal prepping. Other people, it's just following simple dietary restrictions such as fasting, or maybe if you can sustain it, eliminating certain foods entirely, especially if they are more junk foody. Other times, it's just quite simply tracking your calories or body weight or some combination of any of these things. You need to have something that you can track. You need to have some type of habit in place, even if it's something as simple as I'm only going to eat, let's say, donuts every 5 days or every 6 days, every 7 days, and I'm only going to eat one instead of your usual 3, 4, 5, 6, or even 12. So making minor changes like that and adding a time element to it so that way it's repeatable and you can replicate it, that is already going to be some form of taking your nutrition a bit more seriously. You need to have some type of way to track things. If those things are not in place, you are not taking nutrition seriously, and that is an issue, and it will hold you back. It will either make you more unfit, more unhealthy, or it's going to actively get in the way of your progress if you're not getting enough protein or if you're not getting enough calories to make sure you're building muscle and getting stronger. Nutrition is one of the many key variables that affect your long-term ability to make progress. If you want to maximize muscle size and strength, being in a calorie surplus is going to be of a benefit to you. But if you are overly fat or your micronutrients are out of whack, these are all things that are going to negatively impact you in the long term. You simply can't do that and expect good results. If you want to be healthful, you need to eat healthily. Next thing we're going to cover is training. There is this train of thought or this idea that building muscle or strength is 50% training and 50% diet, or 80-20, or some other ratio. Not the case. You can't have one without the other. Nutrition alone won't build muscle, and training alone won't build muscle. To get the most out of both of them, you need both of them. A car needs fuel, and fuel is most useful in a car or in anything that can use it the most effectively. So to treat either one of them as a half measure or to treat either one of them as somehow less important than the other is only doing yourself a disservice. Some questions I want you to consider when it comes to your training program is, does your program agree with your schedule and your psychology? Does your program and your technique allow you to make progress in a regular and reliable fashion? Does your program have a reasonable amount of volume? You need to have a plan or a program and a process. So when you are running your program, you need to have other things in place and other bits of information that you use to educate your decisions, like how do you decide when to increase weight? How do you progress on your main lifts? How do you determine a plateau? Because many of you will have one bad workout and think that it's a plateau. How do you determine when to rotate an exercise? These questions will keep you consistent, which is far more important than keeping you optimal. If you have a choice between consistency or training optimally, always go for the consistency, because even if something is perfect on paper, perfect in theory, if you can't keep to it, you won't benefit from it. The next habit is going to be activity. NEAT, cardio. NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, cardio. Everyone should be doing some kind of activity for basic heart health. Cardio at the end of the session, at the beginning of the session, walking your dog in the morning, or taking a walk with your significant other, or playing a sport of some kind. Something is always going to be better than nothing, and I do think 10K steps should be a minimum if you are serious about your health. Is it arbitrary? Kinda, but not really. And more is definitely better. I think there was a time when people were just like, oh, 10K steps is a bit too much. You get the same benefits from 10K as you would from 12 or 15K. And my logic is, I don't think that would work, because let's say, for example, you do get to 10K. It's not like your body is just like, hey, he hit 10K steps, I'm not gonna burn any more calories if this guy keeps walking. Like, yes, the body will become more efficient over time, and you're going to need to push it to a different threshold in order to get the same benefit over time. But having a baseline amount of health and efficiency with your body is not a bad thing. Cardio will not kill your gains, but a lack of cardiovascular health will kill you. So it's important to have some baseline of activity in your life outside of training, outside of lifting weights. Make sure you have that in your life if you are serious about doing this long term for a lifetime, because your life will be cut short if you are out of shape, and if you are not eating properly, and if you're not having a consistent amount of activity in your life. These are things that I am trying to correct this year. So that's why it's important for me to really write down what are the most important habits to establish and maintain for the rest of my life, and that's why I'm sharing this information with you. So the last one I'm going to be sharing with you is hydration. So like I mentioned, there's many other videos that can do a better job at explaining why hydration is so important, but in essence, you will perform better. You will have better cognitive capacities. Your nervous system will operate better. You're going to get better pumps. You're going to be able to work harder. So you should always be having the mentality of, I am hydrating for tomorrow's workout. So that way you are always going to be in a state of good hydration, because if you are not hydrated, you'll be limiting yourself in how well you can burn fat, and how well your energy is being regulated, how well your hunger is being regulated. These are all things that hydration can help in, and most of us are just chronically dehydrated. If you are like myself, something that is incredibly useful is quite simply setting a simple timer, and every 3 hours that you're awake, just take a big swig of water, or maybe even have something like most people nowadays have, like some type of hydro flask, some type of water bottle that they keep with them every day. And if you just have timely intervals where you just remind yourself to drink a certain amount of water, that can help a lot. Now, hydration alone is not just water intake. You also need to have other micronutrients available from your vegetables and your fruits, so potassium being the main one here, and you do need to have some amount of sodium in your diet. Now, I do think that with something like, let's say, the vertical diet, which is going to be the base of many people's diets if you are more focused on size and strength, because it just appeals to us, rice and meat, and it's pretty simple and really easy. But the thing is, we do have to keep in mind that, yes, we cannot make a straw man or a boogie monster out of sodium, but we also can't neglect the fact that it does have adverse health effects in super high doses and that exceed what we need on a daily basis. So it's important that we balance it out with potassium, and it's important that we also don't overdo it either. But regardless, hydration is something you want to make sure you are doing. Hydrate for tomorrow's workout, set a timer, and just be consistent. So wait, what's the 7th habit? So in the comment section below, I want you to write down what you think is the 7th most important habit of a highly effective lifter. Is it tracking everything? For me, I think that you can't honor any of the other 6 if you aren't tracking, but do you think that should be its own independent habit, or do you think something else should take its spot? Let me know in the comment section below. Have a great one. So guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to work with me for coaching, where I act as an accountability partner, I'm implementing these habits, and I would love to help you implement these habits as well, so we can lose weight together in this year. If you would like to work with me, The links are in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.